The candle isn't moving much. Just a slow, steady bleed, red ticking lower, minute by minute. A trader stares at it in silence, in a dark room, his coffee gone cold an hour ago. The loss is small right now, almost nothing. But he doesn't move. He doesn't close it. Some part of him is convinced that if he just waits a little longer, the market will turn around and prove he was right all along. 10 minutes pass. Then 20. The small loss becomes a medium loss, then a serious one. And somewhere in that stretch of time, something happens that has nothing to do with charts or candles at all. His hands go cold. His jaw tightens. And a single quiet thought settles into his chest. The same thought that has destroyed more traders than any market crash in history. Maybe if I just wait, it'll come back. It doesn't come back. It never does. Not on command, not because you need it to. And by the time he finally closes the trade, the damage is already done, not just to his account, but to something deeper, something that will follow him into his next trade and the one after that. Here's the question we need to sit with tonight, the one almost nobody wants to actually answer honestly. What if the problem was never the loss itself? What if the real danger was what happened in the silence, in the waiting, in the refusal to admit you were wrong 5 minutes sooner than you did? Nearly a century ago, a trader named Jesse Livermore understood something about this exact moment that most people still haven't learned. Even with every tool, every chart, every piece of technology we have today that he never had. He built and lost several fortunes in his lifetime. Not because he was reckless, but because trading has never really been right. It's about what you do the moment you're wrong. And the lesson he left behind, quiet and simple on the surface, is one that could save you more money over your lifetime than any strategy you'll ever learn. The goal was never to avoid losses. The goal is learning to accept them small, before they become something that can end you. Be honest with yourself for a second. Think about the last time a trade went against you. Did you exit when your plan told you to? Or did you wait, hope, negotiate with the market in your head, convinced that this particular loss was somehow different from all the others? Most traders will admit, if they're truly honest, that it's the second one far more often than they'd like to remember. Let's talk about why this happens, because it isn't weakness, and it isn't stupidity. It's biology working exactly as it was designed to, in an environment it was never built for. Human beings are wired with something called loss aversion, a psychological reality where the pain of losing feels roughly twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining the same amount. This isn't a personality flaw. It's ancient wiring, built for a world where losing food or shelter could genuinely threaten survival. Your brain still treats a losing trade the same way it once treated a real physical threat, flooding your body with stress the moment red numbers appear on the screen. This triggers something close to a fight or flight response. The same reaction your ancestors had when facing a predator. Except now, the predator is a candle, and there's nowhere to run and nothing to physically fight. So the body freezes instead, or it fights back irrationally, refusing to accept the loss, holding on longer than logic would ever allow. And underneath all of this sits the ego, quietly whispering that admitting the loss means admitting you were wrong. And admitting you were wrong feels, in that moment, like admitting something about your worth as a trader, even though the two have never actually been connected. This is exactly why beginners move their stop loss the moment a trade turns against them. Not because they're careless, but because moving the stop feels like protecting themselves from being wrong, when really it's just delaying the moment they have to face it, usually at a much higher cost. Professionals learned, often the hard way, that a small loss taken immediately is nothing compared to a large loss, taken later after hours of hope and negotiation with a market that was never listening in the first place. Jesse Livermore built his entire philosophy around one deceptively simple idea. Cut your losses quickly, not because losses feel good. They never do. But because a small loss protects your capital, and capital is the only thing that allows you to still be in the game tomorrow. He watched traders destroy entire fortunes, not from one catastrophic trade, but from a series of small losses they refused to accept, each one growing quietly larger while they waited for vindication that never came. Think about the difference between a trader who takes a small, disciplined loss and closes it without hesitation, and a trader who watches that same small loss slowly become a devastating one, simply because he couldn't accept being wrong in the moment it actually mattered. Same market, same initial setup, completely different outcomes, built entirely from the space between the loss appearing and the decision to accept it. Protecting capital was never about being conservative or scared. It was about survival, plain and simple. A trader who protects his capital through small accepted losses lives to trade next week, next month, next year. A trader who refuses to accept small losses eventually faces one loss so large it ends everything, not because the market was cruel, but because he taught himself one hesitation at a time. That losses were something to be feared and avoided rather than something to be expected and managed. Being wrong in trading is not a failure. It's simply part of the mathematics of the profession. Even the best traders and the best strategies in the world are wrong a significant portion of the time. What separates the professional from the amateur was never the ability to be right more often. It was the ability to think in probabilities, understanding that any single trade is just one outcome in a long sequence of outcomes, and no single loss defines the sequence. Mark Douglas taught this exact idea for decades. He believed the market is completely neutral, indifferent to whether you win or lose, and every loss is simply the cost of operating in an environment defined by uncertainty. No different than rent is the cost of running a shop. Once a trader truly internalizes this, a loss stops carrying emotional weight it was never actually meant to carry. Paul Tudor Jones built an entire career on defense first, protecting his capital before chasing any gain, because he understood that survival in this business matters infinitely more than being right on any individual trade. Ed Seykota believed that a trader's relationship with losing often reveals more about their psychology than their relationship with winning ever could, because how you lose says everything about whether you'll still be trading 5 years from now. Ray Dalio approached every loss with radical honesty, treating pain combined with reflection as the exact mechanism that produces real growth, while pain that gets denied or avoided simply repeats itself in a slightly different form next time. A trader in gold takes a small loss on a clean setup, exits exactly where his plan told him to, and moves on without a second thought. An hour later, the same setup would have worked out perfectly if he'd held on. But he doesn't regret it, because he knows that following the exit rule consistently is what keeps him alive over hundreds of trades, even when any single trade might have worked out differently. A trader in Bitcoin watches a position go against him and freezes, unable to accept the small loss forming in front of him, convincing himself it will surely reverse any minute now. It doesn't reverse. It keeps falling, and by the time he finally exits, the loss is 10 times larger than it needed to be, all because accepting a small wrong felt worse in the moment than risking a much larger one later. A trader in Forex takes a loss exactly as planned, closes his charts, and reviews it calmly that evening, treating it as one data point among hundreds rather than a personal verdict on his ability. The lesson in each of these moments is the same. The size of the loss was never really about the market. It was about how long the trader was willing to sit inside his own denial before finally accepting the truth in front of him. Have you ever watched a small loss grow simply because closing it felt like admitting defeat, when in reality closing it early would have been the actual strength? If yes, you are far from alone. Nearly every trader who has ever survived long enough to become consistent has a story exactly like this one, usually from very early in their journey. Here's what professionals do differently, and it's simpler than it sounds, though far harder to practice consistently. They define their acceptable loss before ever entering the trade, calmly, with a clear mind, long before any emotion is involved. They exit exactly at that point, without negotiation, without hope, without waiting to see what happens next. They treat each loss as information rather than judgment, something to note in a journal and study later, not something to feel ashamed of in the moment. And they remind themselves quietly every single day that the goal was never to be right on this trade. The goal was to still have capital and a clear mind for the next one, and the one after that, and the 100 after that. If you were my younger brother sitting across from me right now, here's exactly what I would tell you. Stop treating a small loss like a personal failure, because that belief alone is what turns small losses into catastrophic ones. The moment you accept that being wrong is simply part of this profession, not a reflection of your worth, everything about how you trade begins to change. Set your stop loss before you enter, not after the panic starts. Respect it completely, every single time, regardless of how confident you feel in the moment. Journal every loss honestly, not just the number, but what you felt and what you were tempted to do instead of following your plan. And the next time you feel that familiar urge to wait just a little longer, hoping the market will save you from being wrong, pause and ask yourself one simple, honest question. Am I protecting my capital right now, or am I protecting my ego? Somewhere out there tonight, a trader is staring at a small loss, hand hovering over the mouse, quietly negotiating with a market that was never listening in the first place. And somewhere else, another trader closes that same size loss without hesitation, calm, unemotional, already thinking about tomorrow's setup instead of today's pain. One of them will still be trading in 10 years. The other will eventually face the one loss too large to recover from, built slowly, one moment of denial at a time. Here's the truth I want to leave you with tonight. The market doesn't reward traders who never lose. It rewards traders who know exactly how to lose. Small, fast, unemotional, and without a single ounce of ego attached to the outcome. In the next episode, we're going to explore something just as dangerous as fear, the exact opposite feeling that has destroyed just as many careers. Why overconfidence destroys winning traders, and why the moment you start feeling invincible is often the moment you're closest to losing everything.